today there is a Troy built pressure washer, 2800 psi, 8.5 foot-pounds of torque, so it's a pretty decent one. How you see it is how I got it. What is this? I'm told it's all here. Person went online, bought a new carb. It looks new. It's definitely a imported carb. I think it's the right one. This is usually that seems about right, yeah. But it does appear one of the studs broke off in there, so that's fun. Hopefully we could take that out fairly easily. And then, yeah, we'll give it a pull and see what happens. So let me put you in the stand and we'll get going. I think the person that said everything was here was lying. Because I looked for, there's this little spring that goes on a bracket. I believe it's right here. And, oh, no, I thought there was no fuel in here. Let's get it. But it's not in here. So I think I might have one. If not, we can find one. It's a very low tension spring. So oh man, you really jimmied this in there. Perfect. We'll look at the fuel later. We might be able to vice grip our way through that one. Put your fingers, cross your fingers. Not looking good so far. Of course. I think someone's already tried this. It's pretty eaten away. Let me do some thinking. Okay. I took the tank off because, well, we're working with sparks. I decided to put a slot in it. Let's see if it can come out. Right now it's looking like it's pretty stuck in there. Something a little bigger. Nope, it's gonna break. You can see it. Yeah, whoever did this did a great job. Yeah, but it's broken. Take this cover off. Don't want to because usually the gaskets don't come back. That one's not too bad. I can make that though. Well, at least now we have something to grab onto. Potentially. Wow. This thing is in there. Come on. Break free. Maybe a little tighter. Okay. Just gonna do that a little bit more. So, my argon is getting low. I decided to take off the head and weld on a nut. Looks a little bad, but I figured it's fine. Let's see what happens now. It's cooled off and everything. It's coming slowly. This thing is really in there. Oh, it broke. Are you serious right now? I'm about to just tell this guy he needs to be, but a new head needs to be bought. That's just unfortunate. I'm going to have to drill and tap that now. But I looked into this one, and these threads are also pretty bad, and I tried to take the other screw and just to see what I was looking at, and yeah, it doesn't want to go in very easily either, so I'm going to have to tap that as well. Everything's back on. Everything's been drilled and tapped. I'm going to put a new gasket here, but there it is. I didn't show anything because, well, if you're watching this to learn how to drill and tap from me, you are not going to want to do that. I'm horrible at it. There's many other people out there that you should be watching instead of me. So let's just say that it's done. If you want to know how, center punch it. The smallest drill bit you have, go down, drill all the way down, and then from then on just go from the next size up until you get to the size you want, and then tap it. I'm not going to show you my bad habits because I'm sure you have your own. You know what I'm talking about. But let's go ahead, move on forward, and we will put the carb on. This is definitely not the right spring. That is for sure. But I want to at least hear a run because I want to make sure there's no vacuum leaks. I couldn't find the same type of bolt, but it sinks down just fine. It's straight. That was my main concern. So it's probably not going to run very good, but I wanted to put the cover on and then give it a pull, let the carb, see what it does, see if it even works, and then I'll order the spring. I thought I had one, but this is a very specific style spring. I don't know, maybe this would even be it. Briggs do like to reuse theirs. This is a spring off of an auto choke for like a lawnmower, or pretty much anything that has an auto choke on that style of engine. So I'm going to put the cover on and we'll see what we have. Well, I think we're at that point. Put everything together. What do? We try to pull or twist the broken screw out with a pair of vice grips. That didn't work. Slotting it, that didn't work. Welding on it, that didn't work. Had to drill and tap it. The other side I also put the tap through just to make sure, and it's clean now. The first couple threads were a little tore up, but after that it was pretty good. Probably could have used a screw, but I didn't want to risk having to do this again. There is something though. Like I said, I'm not a person for tapping, but be careful when you are, because there's very few things that I won't try to fix, and a broken tap is one of them. They're hardened, it's just not going to happen. You need to take it to a machine shop, and at that point it would be better just to buy a new head. So everything's on, fuel's on, everything should be good to go. Let's give it a pull. Like I said, it's probably going to be really slow. I don't know. The spring has very little tension, but let's just see what happens. It's a hydro locked? Let me check. I have no idea what just happened. I took the cover off the recoil, took my drill, spun it, it was not moving, but then all of a sudden I moved it to the reverse, moved fine, went back, it was okay. I checked the valves, the plug, everything seems to be okay. I spun the engine over for a good 2 or 3 minutes with the drill and nothing really came out. The plug was dry. It's an odd one. Very weird. So when I was pulling on it, I noticed there was puffing coming from the carburetor, at least the carburetor end, because I'm not looking at the carburetor from my point of view. It's just puffing. It's not normal. So I looked at the valves again, and somehow it had slipped. I think maybe it just wasn't tight enough and just slipped out. I don't know. But I spun it over, did the valves, took my drill, everything seems to be holding now, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. Let's give it a try. On, plug on. Still puffing through the carb. Or somewhere around here. I know where it is. It's coming through the crank. Or not the crank. Let's see if that stops it. Very peculiar. We're not getting a whole lot of compression, and when I was pulling on it, I saw puffs of just puffs. I'm assuming it's like oil or something of the sort coming from the crankcase vent. And that usually means that right here on the head gasket is blown. That's where they usually are, because what ends up happening is the compression from the cylinder breaks through here, because if you look at it, I mean, here's a bolt, here's a bolt, here's a bolt, and here's a bolt. There's really nothing supporting this except for the actual head. So I've noticed that they do like to fail here. What that will end up doing is all that compression goes into the sump, and then where does that compression release from? The crankcase vent. That's the purpose of it. Now, if it was popping through the actual carb, which is why I put the filter back on, that would be a completely different problem. That would probably be the valve. I'm still going to double check the valves. I don't suspect there's anything different between now and when I took it off last time, but just in case there is, I'm going to be inspecting them. So I'm going to take off the head one more time, clean it up, put this new head gasket on there, and we'll give this pressure washer another try. Do you ever wonder why you don't check certain things before you decide to go through a giant ordeal? Well, this is one of those days. I really wished I would have double checked the condition of the cylinder before going through the whole process to fix the head. Because if I would have twisted or moved the motor over a little bit, I would have seen, oh man, all this is just trashed. Look at that. That is legitimately just something I've never seen on a non-blown up engine, which I guess it still could be, but just carnage. Here, that's a pretty good one too. This is your definition of scrap. So unfortunately, I don't think this motor is going to survive. So unfortunately, what do you do with this? I do have another engine. Potentially could work on this, but this is someone else's, not mine. They would have to buy it. By that point, I'm pretty sure I would have to charge more than they would want to spend, and it's not the greatest engine to begin with, I'm not gonna lie. You can get a different one, put a Predator on there, probably would work. You'd measure the shaft size, of course, but yeah, no, this is not happening with this one. I'm glad I didn't go through the process of completely installing the head gasket. Not gonna worry about it anymore. Well, I'll put the gasket away. I'm gonna put everything more or less back together after drilling and tapping that. I might ask the guy if he will sell this to me for parts, which, to be honest, I probably wouldn't pay more than like 20 bucks. Because I don't know the condition of this pump. Could be just as charred up and nasty as the engine, you know? So, I'm going to have to cut this video short. Let's say there was a problem with the head gasket. I at least want to explain that. It would be black, not including the line, of course, but it would be black right here, or you'll see obvious maybe a lifting, maybe there's a piece missing, you know, it would be pretty obvious. There's something that would right here that look different. And if you don't see that, because you already have a new one, take it off and look at the back side of it too. If you see the same thing, there it is. Or if it starts to crack right there really easily, you know it's probably a weak point to begin with. Okay, well, let's see here. If you, for whatever reason, did need to buy this head gasket, that's the part number. It's not expensive, it's like a couple bucks. It usually gets here pretty fast. Yeah, push rod goes in there, push rod goes in there. Pretty simple. Man, just look at that. That's crazy. That is legitimately, I don't even know how does that even happen in such a large degree? And then the person thought it was the carb, so then they broke it off there. This is just a whirlwind. Okay, I'm rambling. If you like what you see, keep on watching. Definitely subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. That helps. I'll catch you on the next video. Have a good night. Bye. I also want to go over this. This is that spring that was missing. I found one that I took off a probably engine and did something similar to this, except just not to this degree. And the tension on this is a lot more. Like, for example, look at this. Okay, it's uncompressing. In comparison, to test it out, I was going to use one of these if I couldn't find one, but I'm barely even pulling on it. This is the spring for auto check, so they may look very, very similar, but the spring tension is definitely a lot different. Okay, I wanted to just throw that out there, because in case you are missing one, this is what you would want to put on there, and this is how you install it. The hook goes on the carb, so I put it on here just kind of as a demonstration. Okay, have a nice night.